everyone, and welcome to RDW Judgment Day's pre-show report. Now, before we get into the action, let's get into the injury report as of right now. There are 3 superstars who are currently injured on the RDW roster. One superstar has requested to continue on with his matchup even if his injury isn't as major as it seems. All injuries in this injury report are nothing major, all minor injuries. They're still able to compete in their matchups, but it still needs to be watched over and make sure that these superstars do not get severely injured and to be taken off RDW's roster for weeks, maybe months, depending on if the injury progressively gets worse. Now, the one superstar who decided to continue on with this matchup is PX90. He has sustained a minor head injury in one of his matchups in the last few weeks, but since he is defending the RDW World Championship and it's nothing major, management did say that he did not have to compete in the world title match, but he would have to vacate the championship if he were to wanting time off. But being the defending champion he is, he's requested to stay on the card and defend his championship against the Plague Master. Now the other 2 superstars who decided to take the night off for RDW Judgment Day was both Morticious and Harvey Beardman, both also sustaining minor head injuries and not wanting to make the injury progressively worse over time. We all wish them a speedy recovery and get back into the action full 100% like before. Now, let's get into RDW Judgment Day's match card. Earlier in the night, you saw a Tag Team Turmoil matchup to crown the first ever RDW World Tag Team Champions. And folks, I hope you really enjoyed that matchup because it was a great Tag Team Turmoil matchup with these 4 teams, Shahi and Jokester, Kid Lou Ray and WBK, Latino Magic and T-Dog, and also the very odd and out-of-nowhere team of Skinfoot and Bluebeam, the only team that really has a name of their own, calling themselves Skinbeam. But out of all 4 of these teams, Latino Magic and T-Dog were able to pull out with the win and become the first ever RDW World Tag Team Champions. Again, folks, I hope you really enjoyed this Tag Team Turmoil matchup on the pre-show before the pre-show report, because these 16 superstars did everything in their power to make the matchup 5 stars and very enjoyable for all viewers of RDW. Now let's move on to the rest of the match card that will be happening after the pre-show report, and boy, we got a very exciting matchup card for you guys tonight. We're going to be starting out with the re-debut of Dr. Shemp taking on the Jokester. Now, the reason why I put the pre-show a couple more hours before the main show was so that anyone competing in the main show that was in the pre-show could rest up, get some energy, and be able to come back and give the best action you guys could see. And one of those members from that Tag Team Turmoil matches was the Jokester. He's got a pretty tall task against the likes of Dr. Shemp, a very strange individual. Mainly just that he's from Africa and he's a very strange individual. But he has wrestled in RDW before, taking on the likes of Pyromaniac and also assisting Jason Anderson in his tag team matchup against the Plague right before the live action league had shut down. Right after that matchup, we'll be having another one-on-one matchup with another Tag Team Turmoil individual who was also in that earlier matchup tonight, and that is Shahi taking on Pyromaniac. Now, Pyromaniac has been quite aggressive as of late and a little irritated with how his record has been the last few weeks. Hasn't really picked up a win until this past Monday against El Buff Potato with that new submission hold to Full Nelson. Now it seems like that Full Nelson might be his go-to from here on out, but we're going to have to wait and find out and see how this all goes. And maybe Pyromaniac will keep his win streak going, or will Shahib douse the fire with his own winning streak from here on out. Right after that, we have the likes of El Buff Potato and WBK taking on one-on-one. This will be WBK's first ever singles debut matchup in RDW. He didn't really come up with the win for the Tag Team Championships, but he's here to prove himself that he's also capable of being a singles competitor in RDW. And El Buff Potato is no pushover. He may not have the best record, but he has improved week after week after week and keeps getting better as the weeks go on. And I gotta say that WBK is probably one of the greatest challenges yet, besides PX90. Coming up next, we have the RDW Survival Championship matchup. This is one of 2 title matches that Plague Master has to compete in tonight. Now, the opponents in that matchup has not been announced, but it's been confirmed that it will be a 4-man matchup, including the champion. So we're going to find out who will be battling for the Survival Championship when that match comes around. And now the matchup after that, probably the biggest story going into RDW Judgment Day, is the Intercontinental Championship between the likes of Cosmos, Brewmaster Swigs, Krieger Margin, and the Regulator. Cosmos won the Intercontinental Championship in the inaugural Intercontinental title match we had set up before we started the Simulation League. And ever since then, he hasn't really picked up a singles win or a tag team win, having 1 loss against Jason Anderson, 2 losses against Krieger Margin, and coming out in a losing effort in a tag team match, which led to this main event. Partially, it may have been kind of his fault, even though it looked like it was accidental, but it is what it is. And as much as I myself am not really happy with the decision of how management handled this, can't change what management says, and the matchup has got turned to a fatal 4-way because of it. Now, Brewmaster Swigs has been a force to be reckoned with in RDW since coming back to the league, only really having 1 singles loss and then that tag team accidental loss this past Monday. But besides that, he has been a dominant force, a monster. Not many people can really stop him. Like I said, the only singles loss he's had is against the Regulator, and that was just a flat out, straight out of like a monster battle movie between those 2 men, and it was a great battle between those 2 giants. Now let's get on to the other 2 opponents in the Intercontinental title matchup. Krieger Margin and the Regulator. Now, Krieger Margin's story into this is that he believes that he should be the one that should be taking on Cosmos for the Intercontinental Championship, and quite frankly, he believes that he should be the one with the title since he's beaten the champion twice. But for some reason, management looked at his record and thought, well, you don't really qualify for the Intercontinental Contendership matchup we did, so you're not going to be in it, which greatly irritated the likes of Krieger Margin. That's when he met up with the Regulator. Now, the Regulator has been in an ongoing rivalry with Brewmaster Swigs, Harvey Beardman, and Jason Anderson with this tag team partner, the Plague, in this Plague versus Kingdom battle that's been going on since the end of 2 years ago, and has pretty much picked up since then like nothing was ever left off. And since after that singles win against Brewmaster Swigs, he thinks that he should have been in that matchup and it should not be Brewmaster Swigs going for the Intercontinental Championship. He feels like Brewmaster Swigs doesn't deserve a shot at the title. So, after hearing about Krieger Margin's complaints to management about his opinion on the Intercontinental Championship, he met up with Krieger Margin backstage and struck a deal with him, saying that if he was able to form a small alliance with him, then the 2 of them can go to management and make a deal with the devil, pretty much. And they state their claim to management, and management came up with the tag team matchup from last week. If Krieger Margin and the Regulator won that tag match, they were inserted in the Intercontinental Championship, but if they were to lose against the likes of Cosmos and the Intercontinental Championship #1 contender, Brewmaster Swigs, then it would just stay as the one-on-one match that we originally had planned for RDW Judgment Day. And like I stated before, with the outcome of the accidental loss because of Cosmos, the Regulator and Krieger Margin won, and now it has turned to a fatal 4-way matchup. And then there is our main event. It is PX90, the RDW World Champion, taking on Plague Master. Plague Master, I don't really agree with some of his methods in his matchups that he does here and there, but he has performed quite well within the last few weeks, definitely earning this shot at the World Championship, and it's quite the surprise, in my opinion, and from other RDW fans as well. And of course, the Regulator has praised Plague Master for reaching that far into the world of RDW, getting a shot at the World Championship. Probably Plague Master's biggest challenge yet against the very dominant, formerly undefeated PX90 for 7-0 in the live action league. I hope you enjoyed this short RDW Judgment Day report on the matchups coming up. There is one more message I want to bring out before I close this report down, And it's honestly the state of RDW and where the channel is going. So this part is going to be separate from the match report. If you are interested in wondering why we decided to go with the Simulation League instead of a live action league after waiting 2 years to actually do anything, stay and watch this part. I'll honestly link a timestamp in the description box to kind of aim you there to this point. But if you're not interested, you can go ahead and click off the video and go ahead and start watching the rest of the show as it gets uploaded. One of the main reasons why I decided to do the Simulation League instead of live action league is because, well, one, when it comes to current day situations, with the pandemic going on, it's very difficult to get a lot of people into one setting, and it's not really recommended. So one, that will be endangering a lot of people's lives, and it can get a lot of us sick and or ill wrestling in an enclosed environment like that. But besides the pandemic going on, here's kind of part of the reason why that I decided to do the Simulation League. I had moved away from my original hometown when we were hosting all these events, and it got a lot more difficult actually getting everybody together at that time, and it's becoming a lot more difficult doing that. Plus, with living in a different environment and with different people and just being so far away from everyone else, it gets very difficult traveling to one location and getting it all done in one night. And honestly, I've talked to a couple of the RDW wrestlers when I was hinting at a 4th of July reunion show, which never came to be, as you saw. Some of them honestly decided that they didn't want to do it anymore. They either retired or just wanted to quit wrestling because they decided to move on and focus on other things in their life, which I do respect their opinion and what they want to do and what they want to progress in their lives. But it's also very saddening to hear that kind of news from a lot of people that I wrestled with over the years. And it kind of became the biggest downfall when it came to the live action RDW League. So if you were a fan of the live action league and you do not enjoy the Simulation League, which I really hope most of you do enjoy it, if you end up unsubscribing and not following RDW anymore, I totally understand. I enjoyed sharing those wrestling moments with all of you guys that jumped and supported us all those years ago for 2 years and everything. But if there are some of you who want to stick around and still enjoy the product that we give out to you week after week, then I'm also very happy at that point, and I would like for more people to actually find us and watch more of the Simulation League, because it is something that I want to continue. It is honestly one of the only ways that I can keep the wrestling league alive, and it's honestly entertaining for me, and like I said before, I hope it's very entertaining for you. Like I said, I have enjoyed this adventure with you guys, and I hope all of you stick around and enjoy the venture from here on out. But until then, this is MykeCheck 95 signing out, and we hope you enjoy RDW Judgment Day.